Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you a really cool endgame puzzle where it is white to move and draw. So this puzzle is a lot harder than it looks. You might get the idea by glancing at it, but it's really hard to execute. So I'd really recommend trying to figure out what is the sequence of moves to draw this game. Take a moment, pause the video if you want, dive into it. It is a lot of fun. While you're thinking about that, let me also quickly encourage you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Half of the income that I earn on this channel goes directly to charity, and every like, every subscriber helps us out so much. That is a smiley face for you. Thank you. Okay, let's get started here. So you might realize right away that the idea here is you're never going to be able to catch this pawn, right? So good luck. If you try to run after it, it's just going to run, and this is very trivial. You'll lose this game, no problem. Instead, you might realize pretty quickly that you want to box your own king and pawns in. So just as a sample idea, maybe you want to play g4, h4, just ditch this pawn somehow, maybe just take it off the board. I can't take it off the board. And then hopefully you can have a place where there are no moves because currently your king is boxed in from this pawn on g7. Right? You imagine that. All these pawns are here and this pawn is blocking you in. That's the ideal state. That's the aspiration. That's the goal. How do you get there? Well, that's kind of the idea. So if you didn't guess that idea, maybe now is a good place to pause it and say, okay, how do I get that configuration? Let's talk about it. So one thought that I had immediately was play h4, play g4, and just ditch this pawn. This does not work. Now, why doesn't it work? They can play f2, and if I play pawn g4, the idea to lock myself in, they can just promote to a knight. And now I'm going to get mated on my next move. I can check them, they can walk away, but I have an extra move. If they take it, that's stalemate, so don't take it. Instead, they can even be mean if they wanted to. They can play here, and then I can promote to a queen, and then I can lose. But don't do that, right? So it kind of became clear to me that I can't make this move immediately. And I thought, okay, what about h3? Maybe I try that one first. Same exact idea. f2. Now what? Try to give up the pawn? Try to lock myself in? It all seems too slow. If you give up the pawn, they just step away from it. There's no rush here. Because if you push the pawn, at some point they can just take it, or they can always promote. So in this exact line, the only way to win is to promote, and then just following the engine line for a moment, if you wanted to play here, you get mated. Oops, like this. So you don't do that. Instead, you play king g4. This is the engine line. And then something like this will do it. So no stalemate there. That's the point. Okay, let's go back. So you can't play h4. You can't play h3. What about g4? Well, same idea. Black plays f2, and if you're trying to lock yourself in, it's just simply not fast enough because I can promote to a knight again, and we're at the same line, right? So what is the way to draw this as white? There's only one move that draws this, and I'm going to tell you now, so this is your last moment to pause if you'd like to look at the solution yourself. Okay, the one move that draws this is pawn to a6. And you might go, wait a second here, how is this changing anything? Well, let's talk about it. Black has a couple of options. They can either take the pawn, they can block the pawn, or they can move away from the pawn. Right? We can put them in those buckets if you want. Let's talk about the obvious move first. If they take this, this is going to be a draw because now I play h4, you play f2, I lock myself in, and you're one move too short. I can't get to this g3 square. Right? If only you could just flip the moves and it's Black's move, it would be over. But instead, it's over as stalemate, not over as a win for Black. Okay, so you can't take the pawn, right? You can't take this. That's the lesson of that variation. What if instead you just move away? Like, I don't know, go over here. Well, now you have to actually be careful because this pawn's going to promote. So a7, now Black has to get back or else they're going to lose. Because you can imagine this variation. This is not good like this. This is not good for Black because remember, White has 4 pawns. And even though they're all on one side of the board, a move like queen e4 is a good move because, as the arrows show, you're threatening queen to f4, which will capture. And just to show it, I'll show it again. Queen f4, which will threaten this check. That'll get the pawn to capture, push this pawn up the board, get the king out of the way, push the pawn, trade, all that kind of stuff. That's a win, right? If the arrows weren't clear the first time, I'll show the actual variation. Okay, so they have to walk over, in which case you promote, take it, and now it's the same exact thing as before. You're one move too short. Okay, so they can't, white plays a6, black can't take the pawn, and they can't walk away from the pawn, right? It's the same exact thing. If you go up, they just push, you're going to have to take it, or else it's going to promote, and then you take it. It's the same exact idea. The only one we haven't looked at yet is if black gets in the way. Let's talk about that right now. Black gets in the way. Now what? This is the stunning part of the puzzle. This is the hardest part of the entire puzzle. If you think it's hard so far, this is the hardest move to find, in my opinion. So my temptation is just play h4, lock yourself up. Well, if you do that, you're one move too slow because look, g4, but the king now on a7 moves out of the way, and that gives you 2 extra tempi to exhaust. a7, they promote to a knight, and now you can promote to a knight if you're white if you want. It's not going to do anything, you just move, and they can't generate a check, and you're going to lose in the next move. And if they make a queen, that just looks even cooler for style points, because there's no intersection between this queen and this knight. So you just mate them. Okay, so what am I saying here? I'm saying that h4 is the wrong move. Now, doesn't that seem so natural? It's not. Okay, what about g4? Maybe the idea is to do that first and then block yourself in. That still is like the same variation. f2, they play h4 or h3, it doesn't really matter. King b6, and now this same thing happens. So what is the way? How do you crack this? How do you get out of it? Well, it turns out the winning move here, so I'll give you one more chance. This is your last chance to pause if you want to find the killer move in this position. The only move to draw this is h3. Look at this. This is ridiculous. h3. Now why? Why is that the best move? Well, if they go for this variation now where they promote to a knight, well, now I can play h4. And what that move is doing is I'm kind of disincentivizing them, because now if they promote to a knight, they actually lose because I can play king g4. I'm pushing this pawn up the board, and that's going to be a win. So by me making this extra move, h3 and then h4, I'm allowing time to pass. That's kind of the beautiful thing about this puzzle. So h3, if they play if they play f2, I play h4. If they take the pawn, it's going to be the same. Doesn't really matter. I play h4, and now f2, what do? Well, it doesn't matter anymore. g4, and now I'm stalemated. Do you see the point here? It's amazing. So after h3, and they do this, f2, I play h4, and now they're not able to promote to a knight or else they lose. So the computer plays it by just playing f1 equals queen, and now you play g4, and you're completely locked up. And no matter what they do, it's a draw. They walk away, a7, and even if you get all the way back with the idea to stalemate, it does not work. Or sorry, I said stalemate. You try to checkmate, they're going to promote, and you have to take this, and it's going to be a draw. So isn't that super, super cool? I love this puzzle. So let's just see it one more time from start to finish just to see the idea. You check them first, try to get rid of that a-pawn. The king blocks it. You play the stunning move h3, which buys one tempo and tells them, hey, you can't promote to a knight anymore, because if you do, I will actually win the game as white. Then you play h4, telling them, like I just mentioned, to not promote to a knight. They promote to a queen, and you block it up. Just really want to show that one variation one more time. They promote to a knight, you play king g4, and you run that pawn off the board. Knight e3 check, that's not stopping me. King f4, what are they going to do? They're going to try to run away? It's not working. I have this, and then just take and push. Amazing puzzle. I absolutely love this. So yeah, that's the final variation. Push. After that, queen exchange, and that is stalemate. I love it, love it, love it. That is it for the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe. But as I mentioned before, I appreciate all the support, so thank you so much. Bye.